right, Unit 4, Lesson 2, Explore. Factor using the grouping method. I like to call it factoring a 4-term polynomial. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. There's no GCF to come out of all 4 terms. But when you have 4 terms, what you're allowed to do is actually divide the 4 terms into 2 terms. Into halves. Okay, so each half has 2 terms. Don't forget to put the line right past this sign. This sign belongs to this sign, and this sign belongs to this one. So make sure that line happens past the signs. Okay. All right. So you divide the polynomial into 2 groups. Factor out the GCF of the first group. So what do these 2 have in common? Well, you can take a 5 out, and they both have a b, right? So that's 5b, and what's left is 2a plus 3, right? And then what I do is I take this 2a plus 3 and I write it down again over here. And then I look up here and say, what can I take out of these 2 terms that will make that turn into this that's left? So you can divide them both by 2. So that's where this 2 comes from, okay? And you can always check. Distribute this back. That's 10ab. That's plus 15b. That's plus 4a. That's plus 6, right? That's what we started with. So whatever you're coming up with, you should be able to distribute to put them back, okay? So what we do from here is we notice that this is greatest common factor, so we write that down once, and everything that's left goes in the parentheses together. So let's try another one. Here is a 4-term polynomial. It's divided in half. Quick check, by the way, there wasn't anything that came out first. This term, this is called a constant term because it does not have any variables next to it. These are variable terms. That's a constant term. And because they have no letters, you cannot remove any letters from all 4 of these numbers, right? And then let's look at the numerical coefficients, that number in front. That's a 5, a 4. Can't take a 4 out of a 5, so there is nothing you can take out of all 4 terms, okay? But since it is 4 terms, I can divide it in half and take something out of the first 2. What can I take out of this term and this term? What do they have in common? The greatest common factor between these 2 terms. Just an a, right? I'll get my key out so I make sure. Oh, and also 1b. This last term has an a and a b, and this term has an a and a b also. So if I take an a and a b out, what's left of this first term? A 5 and an extra a on top. You take an a, b out of this term, what's left is a 4, right? Go over here and write that down again. If I did that right, that's going to appear twice in here, okay? How do I make this look like this? What can I take out of both terms? What do they have in common? Well, 5 into 35 goes 7 times, so I can take a 7 out of both of these, because 7 times 4 is 28, 7 times 5 is 35. So a positive 7 can come out, okay? And then the greatest common factor of this and this is 5a plus 4, and then everything else gets put in the parentheses together, including the signs. And that's my answer, okay? Let's try this one. Divide it in half. Make sure you're getting that sign with that 3rd term. So let's look at these 2. They have a y in common, so we're going to take out a y. Then we have an x left and a 7 left. Okay, go over here, write x plus 7. Look up at this. Well, look at the signs here. There's 2 negatives and I need positives. So I'm taking out what? A negative 5. So that's going to leave me an x. take out a negative 5, that's going to leave me a positive 7. So taking out a negative 5, the common factor is x plus 7. What's left I put in parentheses together. Okay? Divide in half. There wasn't anything I could have taken out of all 4, but out of the front, I can what? Take a 2a. Let's check. So that reduces to 6b if I take 2a. This reduces to negative 7, and that's it, right? Take a moment and look at this and make sure there's nothing else that come out, okay? If there's nothing else to come out, then you did take the greatest common factor on the first shot, okay? Whatever you write here, go over and write here. Sorry about the handwriting, hang on. Okay, and this sign, let's see, went here, right? But over here, notice that this is a plus and a negative, so the signs are backwards. So if the signs are backwards, you need to take out a negative 1. You need to divide both by a negative 1. A negative 6 divided by a negative 1 is a 6. A positive 7 divided by a negative 1 is a negative 7. Okay, so dividing both terms by negative 1 gets you the same thing you have over here, which is your greatest common factor now, and what's left goes in there. Okay? If you want to check, you can always FOIL it back. This times that is what? 12ab. This times this, negative 6b. This times this, negative 14a. This times this, plus 7. That's what you have up there. The middle order gets a little squirrely, but that's still basically the same thing I've got up there. Okay? So that's just for checking. All right, what about this one? Factor out the greatest common factor. This one looks like it's missing something. The greatest common factor is that, right? They both have this. And then what's left? An x plus nothing. Is that a 0 right there, or is that a 1 right there? That has to be a 1 right there. It has to be. Okay? Look at this. This would be x times x is x squared. X, just for checking purposes, plus x minus 7. We can do this again. So this would be what? X comes out, x minus 7. What comes out of this? This is kind of weird looking here. How do we get... Oh, wait. That was an x. I'm sorry. Hang on. I messed that one up. This is what happens when I go off script. Okay. I was just trying to prove that this right here is the same as this down here. So let me go ahead and put this together for a minute. X squared minus 7x plus x minus 7. All right, so if I factored that, the x comes out, and you have x minus 7. You go over here, and it's x minus 7. So that's a plus 1, okay, when I didn't take anything out. Those are a little different. This is all the weird stuff that could come your way. This one here, something happens when you get started. There are times when you need to rearrange the terms in a 4-term polynomial just so it will work. So let's look. This looks like it works. I'm going to take out a 4 and I'm going to take out a y, right? That can come out of both. 4y. What do I got left? I got a 2x minus what? 3. Go over here. 2x minus 3. There's no way that I can turn a 15 into a 2. So you realize something is off a little bit. All right? It turns out every now and then, rarely, what happens is the 4-term cannot be done in the order you received it. Most of the times, just moving the constant term towards the end, let's see if that'll work. It's basically a guess and check. There's a couple of ways this will work. Let's try that one now. So I've got this and this. Let's see, 4y can come out. what are we left with? 2x minus 3 again. 2x minus 3. Can I make this look like 2x minus 3? Well, they have a 5 in common. And if I take out the negative, that'll fix the signs for me. So this will be negative 10 divided by a negative 5 is a positive 2. And this would be a negative 3. Oh, yeah, okay, I'm sorry. Positive 2 is right there, by the way. Negative 5. What I've taken out is the negative 5, which goes here. Sorry about that. These two terms have a negative 5 in common. Negative 10 divided by 5 is your 2, okay? But what I take out is the negative 5. So the GCF is 2x minus 3, and what's left you put in a parenthesis together, okay? So let's practice that a little bit on the next video.